Good job yesterday, it was all right.
I mean,
We had a.
okay, I'm trying to go strategic plan.
right hand of
And I'm trying to be as collective.
Oh,
as
yeah, yeah.
possible.
Good.
That's so much more fun.
Sure, we fix the
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed
right
it.
hand side down.
I wanted to go, but I had
Got
to
it.
take
Good.
take them to do. Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then last night was Boy Scout.
Yeah.
I saw you in the room and then I didn't.
And.
So I'm not crazy.
No, you're not crazy. I popped in and then I got a phone call saying, don't you know we're supposed to do dinner with her? I'm like. And nobody tells me nothing.
You ran out.
I told her, I'm just gonna give Terry my calendar and just like, oh, my life.
Well, it's so funny. Because Greg Ruthven came up to me and he said, hey, you're Commissioner Lawn and kind of get to be here. And I said,
Who was that?
Greg Ruthven, he was the MC.
Fancelli?
Greg Ruthven.
Roofing, Greg.
Yeah, he was the MC.
Yes.
And he's like, I said, I swear,
No, I was there earlier.
I swear I saw him when I walked
was
in.
a
And I'm
ghost. It
like,
was a
maybe I
ghost.
dreamed it.
No, I walked in and my wife's like, where are you at? I'm like, what do you mean?
That's so funny.
You're supposed to be here at the club, like, I'll be.
All right, we are gonna call our meeting together. My Apple phone says 8:30, the wall clock says 8:29, but we're gonna go with Apple. Welcome to our Board of Directors meeting for today, Wednesday, May 13th. And we will have our approval of the April 8th Citrus Connection meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor to accept?
I
Opposed? The motion carries. No one has signed in for public comments, but I will open it. Anyone else here for public comment? Didn't give us a heads up. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Rhonda Carter, our finance reporting. And that will be, tell us the pages, Rhonda.
I'm on page 11,
Thank you, ma'am.
agenda item 381. Lakeland Area Mass Transit monthly financial statements for the period of March 31st, 2026. Total revenues are 11 million or 63% of the annual budget. Farebox revenue is 162,000 or 47 cents. 47% of the annual budget, and FDOT will fix this where it says the annual operating, we'll take the annual out. FDOT operating grants are 424,000 or 17% of the annual budget. And FTA operating grants are 1.5 million, 35% of the annual budget. Total expenses for March 31st, 2026 are 8.6 million or 52% of the annual budget. Salaries and wages are 6.1 million or 51% of the annual budget. And fuel and lubricants total 251,000 or 41% of the annual budget. As of month to date for March, unleaded fuel was $202.70. In April, it was $3.63. Diesel was $4.13. And in April was $4.37. That just shows you a trend of how fuel is just going up. Based on a year-to-date to actual through March 31st, 2026, the Lamtech financials have a favorable variance of 1.9 million with 50% of the fiscal year completed.
Do we have any questions on the Lamtech financials?
Just one, as far as fuel wise, we are not purchasing in advance, it's all at the rate at which we get it delivered, right? So we're not able to pre-purchase that.
That's correct, Commissioner. So we are part of a fuel consortium with Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, PSTA, Hart, the Polk County School Board, the city of Lakeland. Is the county purchase on it as well, Rhonda?
Yes.
And the county purchases on as well. We pay just under the rack rate, or the Opus rack rate. So we're getting the best possible price that we can. But we are monitoring it on a weekly basis.
Right.
Obviously, the two Achilles heels of our budget are fuel and health insurance.
Right. And on the fuel, if it were to stay at the rate it is now, have we run an analysis to see at what month that's like becoming impactful when we look at the variance?
We're going to have that for you next month.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we are getting to that point where we recognize that this is gonna be a trend at least through the summer.
Yeah, not necessarily escalation in pricing, but if it sustains at a higher elevated price.
Yes, sir.
relatively.
That will be an agenda item for next month.
There, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Sure. All right, we'll move to PCTS financials.
Okay, Polk County Transit Services monthly financial statements through March 31st, 2026. Total operating revenue is 7.7 million or 68% of the annual budget. Fare box revenues are 29,000 or 45% of the annual budget. FDOT grants received to date are 298,000 or 14% of the annual budget, and FTA grants received to date are 2.3 million or 59% of the annual budget. Total expenses for the period is 5.6 million or 49% of the annual budget. Salaries and wages total 2.8 million or 43% of the annual budget. Actual revenues exceeds expenses by 2.1 million. Any questions on Polk County?
Do you have any questions on that? All right, we'll move on.
Moving on to Transportation Disadvantage, monthly financial statements through March 31st, 2026. Transportation Disadvantage is on a different fiscal year than Lakeland Area Mass Transit and Polk County Transit Services. Their fiscal year runs from July the 1st through June 30th. The funding is comprised of 90% from the state and 10% local match from Polk County. Total revenues for March 31st, 2026 is $1 million or 69% of the annual budget. Total expenses are $933,000 or 64% of the annual budget. Revenues exceeds expenses by $71,000.
Do we have questions on TV? Okay, we'll move on to item 3D, asset disposal, and that is page
Page 21.
21.
Okay. Request approval to dispose of 2 vehicles that have surpassed their useful life in years and service for mileage. The district is proposing the disposal of these units based on the depreciation schedule and defined by the FTA Circular 50101.1F or the latest version 49 USC 5334. The vehicles shall be disposed through a competitive bid process. If we, once we replace the units, if they cannot be sold, we will reassess them and dispose them as a scrap in accordance with the district disposal policy. This is an approval item.
I think we talked about this at agenda study the other day, but this is really just for newer board members. We do a really good job, and by we, I don't mean me, I mean the team here at, using these buses and these materials as long as we can and keep them tweaked. And our maintenance team and Jay and his group are just exceptional at staying ahead of the curve and being able to use all the resources that we have available. So I just wanted to give kudos to the team for that because it's very impressive, Tom.
And I'd just like to also note, especially for the new commissioners, I know that from time to time you're approached about spare buses, especially for faith-based organizations or community organizations. These are the types of vehicles that we put up for auction. So they'll be on a government website and we can get you that information if anyone from the public is interested in bidding those. But to the chair's point, I'm always very careful to let individuals know that we use them very, very well.
Right, yeah.
Before we retire them. These are well over their useful life. So typically when the Citrus Connection is done with a vehicle, especially a smaller vehicle, I would not professionally recommend that smaller organizations take them unless they really meet with our maintenance folks and take a look at it, because they can get the vehicles very, very cheap at auction, but the cost of maintaining those is extremely expensive. So just as you may be approached from time to time, that's good information for them to have.
This is an approval item. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion amongst board members?
I was gonna say, great job keeping these things on the road for 10+ years.
Great.
That's impressive, especially in public service. Wow. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good stewardship.
Yep.
Good job, Jay.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We will move to the next item 3E1.
Okay. This agenda item, 3E1, Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307, large UZA grant application. Request approval for the 2026-2027 FTA, Section 5307, grant application and corresponding resolution, and the Lakeland UZA. The district is requesting $7,772,958 to provide operating and preventative maintenance assistance to the citizens in the Lakeland UZA area. $3,238,733 in federal funds will be utilized for operating assistance with a local match of $3,238,733. Capital preventive maintenance in the amount of $1,079,577 in federal funds will also be used for preventative maintenance with a local match of $215,915. This is an approval item.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Like,
We have a motion and a second discussion.
just one question, not that it sounds like this would be assume that we would get the grant award. But if we were not, I guess when I look at this, it's a significant amount of the budget. So when we look at if it were reduced or not awarded at some point, this future planning, what does that mean to our program?
This grant is foundational
Okay.
to the entire operation of
Right.
the district. So it's formula funding based on revenue miles, passenger miles, and passenger boardings, correct, Nicole? Revenue miles, passenger boardings. So ultimately, this is very formulaic.
Okay.
We are the only grantee eligible in the Lakeland urbanized area to even apply for these funds. Ultimately, the only way that we would not receive these funds would be through some type of malfeasance, which of course we would not allow to happen. The auditors will pick up.
Yeah.
Yes, this is foundational. Now, to be completely transparent, Commissioner Scott, when federal government shutdowns occur, we're unable to access these
That's
funds.
kind of where I was going with it.
Yes,
Sounds like
yes, sir.
it's-
So then we live off
Yeah.
our reserves
Okay.
on the Lakeland side. That's why the county fronts the check on the county side.
Okay.
And we communicate with you as board members, and we communicate with our riders, and we communicate with our employees through CCTV. So they know exactly how many days of operating we have. So we went through the longest federal government shutdown, which was 31 days.
Good.
We were okay on both the Lakeland side of the house and the county side of the house.
Yeah.
It's an excellent question because those are becoming more and more frequent.
Correct, we've seen it
Yeah.
multiple times here in 18 months.
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Go to the next item.
Okay. This is actually the same grant. It's just for the Winter Haven UZA. Request approval for the 2026-2027 FTA Section 5307 grant application and corresponding resolution and the Winter Haven UZA. The district is requesting $7,355,635 that will provide operating and preventative maintenance assistance and to the citizens in Winter Haven UZA. $3,064,848 in federal funds will be utilized for operating assistance with a local match of $3,064,848. For capital preventative maintenance assistance, we are requesting $1,021,616 in federal funds with a local match of $204,323. This is an approval item.
So motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion with the board. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. All right, we will now go to our planning director, Nicole Ferry. Thanks, Rhonda.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, board members. The first action item is approval of the grant that we are submitting for the state discretionary grant fund. This grant is for mobility on demand for two areas in Lakeland, one in South Lakeland, one in North Lakeland. Reason why we are applying for this grant is because we have received a lot of customer concerns that, hey, they cannot get to the bus stop, and really the bus stop is more than a mile away from where they live, right? So this grant, if we do win it, it will provide first and last mile connections. It will also provide customers with the opportunity to get to grocery stores, things like that. So addressing food deserts. We are working with VIA, who we use currently for remit, to write this grant. I didn't have a presentation for this one, but we're good to go. We're working with VIA, as I said, we use agreements right now to write the grant. The total of the grant is 1.5 million and it's straight 50 match. And we're asking the board today for a resolution to use of that.
Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion, a second discussion or questions from board members? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, the motion carries.
My next item was an approval item, and what we're going to talk about is the intermodal sector. So this, I'm going to give you guys some background on where we are with this study and how it's going, our next steps, and then ask for approval of the locally preferred alternative. Someone gave me this, but it doesn't work. Oh, here we go. All right, so we'll talk about the project scope, the preferred site, major project accomplishments to this point, the environmental process, the recommendation, and also the next step. So we're currently in phase 1A, defining the project concept. We did a space needs analysis in-house with the directors and senior staff, really trying to understand the layout, the concept, and the space that will be needed, not just for today, but in the future as we continue to grow. We're going to start working on completing the environmental clearance, and then we're going to have some engagement with our stakeholders and the public. And then really thinking about, I wouldn't say just developing, but really formalizing our funding strategy. Phase B is to advance this project to 30% design. If you remember, in January, we came to you to submit a grant, a build grant, to help us get funds to get to that 30%. So where's the preferred site? The preferred site is right here in red. This site is really right behind, would you say, behind the RP Funding Center. So we completed a feasibility study in May of 2020, and this site was actually the best rated when we did both the tier 1 and tier 2 evaluation.
Is that, I'm sorry, Nicole, isn't that like Wire, not like Bonnet?
That's correct.
Oh.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm like, yeah, that ain't right.
We will get that.
Get that changed.
Thank you. I know it's confusing because Bonnet Springs Park, but
Yeah.
Lake Bonnet's to the west. Okay.
Okay. So as I said, we did our space needs program workshop to really understand the needs of each department moving forward and how this would work. We realized, hey, some departments, a lot of their staff would stay in this site with some refurbishment when we're talking about like operations and maintenance, right? Possibly some numbers of call center. And then thinking about how an intermodal center can really tie in and become part of the community and support the community. We met with FTA earlier this month, but it was last month already. So in April, and had a really great conversation with them. We spent the afternoon with them and really introduced the project to them. This was the main reason why we went to FTA, to really get them familiar with the project so that when they see these applications rolling in for more funding, they know what we're talking about, right? And they understand the need of the project. So, as I said, we're talking about funding, grant strategies, things like that. Really thinking about, where are these dollars gonna come from? So we've identified the build grant, we've identified $5307, we've identified the Veteran West Facilities grant as well. To really help us boost the, or I guess lessen the financial stress on citrus. So thinking about that, we also thought about, hey, where can those local dollars come from? So thinking about our ad valorem dollars and state discretionary funds. So the environmental NEPA process is one of due diligence. We have a recommendation for a categorical exclusion, but we still need to do some work to ensure that, especially because the feasibility project was done in May 2020. Things may have changed, right? So we just want to make sure new regulations have come into place. So we're gonna start that this month, actually. Go ahead and get some soil, I don't know what they're called.
Core samples.
Yeah, yeah. Heck, well, science is not my thing. But we expect that we'll have the same findings. Talking with FTA, they thought that that's a possibility as well. All right, so what are our next steps? The next step, really to date, is the adoption of the locally preferred alternative. So as I said, this is an alternative that was that went through the process in 2020, that was agreed upon with the city PTO at that time, and of course, Citrus mentioned that this will be the best alternative. We will, once we have the locally preferred alternative adopted today, we will again meet with TPO and share that information with them. We are on the agenda for TAC and the board meeting, the TPO board meeting, just to ensure that we still have. After that, we will begin the process of the class action determination, which is, as I said, that environmental process. But we can't move forward with that until we have a defined locally preferred alternative. And then start documenting our impacts and some public engagement and public involvement, which will be a really strong push, right? We want the public to support what we're doing here and be behind and be part of the intermodal process. So we'll be saying, okay, why is this a locally preferred alternative? Well, it's a locally preferred alternative because it actually was the one with the least amount of impact when we looked at all four. Okay. As I said, the local jurisdiction really had selected this. It wasn't just Citrus Connection saying, hey, this is what we want. We pulled in the city of Lakeland, we pulled in the PTO, we talked to everybody about how they think. And really, this locally preferred alternative is the final step in the process where we move to the environment. So the step today is formal adoption of the LPA. So our recommendation is that the board adopt the site at West Main Street and South Ohio Avenue as the locally preferred alternative for the new Citrus Connection Intermodal Center. What are our next steps? We're going to prepare for the NEPA class, or NEPA class action. We're going to finalize our space needs. So after we finalize the space needs, you'll start to see some drafts of how it may look. And then we're going to begin the investigation of the environmental surveys. So that's doing those soil bearing, things like that. Prepare the operational layouts. And the site layout will have a few different renderings that we will present to you. So we'll bring that back to the board so that you can see, hey, this is the options that we have and get some feedback on that. And then we'll start to engage the public. Right, so I am open for question.
Tom, can you, just for our newer board members, go back to the history of this, because I think it predates Nicole. Of how long we've been talking about this
Yes.
and how we landed on this, just as a refresher.
Yes, so the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District Lakeland Terminal was constructed just after the referenda passed in 1982 at the current location at South 200 North Florida Avenue. Right up against the CSX line, and it's on a CSX rail easement. And we've outgrown it for a number of years and we've kept the terminal up to the best that we can. But ultimately, we needed something that was going to meet the current needs of Lakeland and Greater Polk County, as well as the entire county, and looking at intermodal. So we went through a process where we looked at a variety of different sites, and ultimately this site came out very strongly as number one. The city willing to partner with us and give us the land. The fact that the land has been cleared is very attractive to the Federal Transit Administration. And although we don't have our NEPA classification yet, we know that there's no bats issues, there's no naked mole rats or tortoises issues. The only thing that it is, I think the entire state of Florida is a brown bear area, which is unknown. So this is strongly preferred as the site. The other nice thing about this site, and the reason that it's strongly recommended, is because the CSX rail line is right there. And although CSX is notoriously challenging to work with, we have Amtrak that's right downtown. So Amtrak, there's a plan to have effectively a crossover to the tracks, which could be attractive to not only Amtrak, but Brightline, if it were to come, and Sunrail if it were to come. So this has been long preferred by the city, the TPO, and the Citrus Connection, and it's really a partnership between all of them. The only other thing that I think wasn't mentioned was we did talk to FTA, and they said if there was any historical nature to this property, that there might be additional funding as well. And so we will do some research locally with FTA to see if this particular parcel was part of what was considered the historic Moorhead neighborhood. And so that might make us eligible for additional federal funding as well.
And just to go back, so I got elected in January 2019. I feel like intermodal predated that. I feel like we talked about it when I was at Polk Vision between 2012 and 2016. So this has been a long, I wanted a little, I usually tell Tom, don't tell the stories of the past, but I think it's really important because it's not a new thing that just popped up. We've been talking about it for a really long time. And it has taken all the partners to come along, and it is something that to keep going forward, I think it's necessary because we have outgrown the other space. And again, CSX is what we're navigating. And so making sure that we can partner, and then Amtrak. So if you think ideally of an intermodal, it usually brings a lot of economic development to an area too. So that would be the downtown west side of Lakeland, where RP is sort of adjacent, but the one thing that bifurcates us is that CSX rail line. So even if we have intermodal there and we do have, something that can go beyond the rail line, that would be very helpful. And it would be a place too where, it could be, people could park and ride. So if Sunrail ever came through on the Amtrak line, which, we talked about for Northeast Polk County, that Poinciana and coming through, and I know we have some friends that are anti-rail, but that would be ideal. And commuting, they would give a hub and somebody could even Uber to the station and then get on and go to Tampa or go to Plant City or go somewhere and pulling more cars off the road. So it has really a very unique, it's something that we're kind of, I want to say we're behind. We're not behind. We just have a great opportunity, and we have the leadership and the partnerships, the strategic partnerships that are very helpful to, no pun intended, move us down the line and help with all that. Commissioner Coney had a question. Sorry, Tom.
Didn't that site kind of bump up to that industrial cement?
Yes.
Whatever business they do there.
Yes.
Cement product.
Yeah, it can be dusty over there. Is that a consideration for customers?
So I would say ultimately FTA was happy that the site had been already cleared. So the NEPA process, the soil process will tell us ultimately how that soil is, but we'll work with that group if we get to that point to kind of remediate that in the design. And the other thing I'd like to say is that Nicole and the team have done a great job that it's really a three-phase project. So phase one is the intermodal center for bus, Uber, Lyft. We have squeeze spots to charge the carts, taxi, Greyhound, Flixbus. And that can just be funded if we get to that point. And then rail, and then Brightline, or then Sunrail. And so it's not a all, or she is not designed an all or nothing
Right.
free package for FTA. It's we can do this, and then we can do
And
this,
scale.
and then we can do this,
Yeah.
and we can scale it.
And just so you know, the city of Lakeland's talked to Cement Products for years, so we have an ongoing relationship with them, and they've been part of this discussion too, because at some point. I can't speak for them, but I just know that they've been Chuck has talked to them a lot.
I
And
think
Brian.
different too. I mean, operationally, they also have dust control measures that
Yeah.
should be in place, but also from the site design for this location, to have additional buffering or a taller buffer.
Yeah.
Or something like that, we should mitigate, both from optics and, usable dust emission.
And thank you for putting rail in its specific place, because that's not the end all be all. That's way down.
Yes, as we get to that.
But if we don't plan for it, we can never attract
I look allowed by that, or,
the discussion.
I would say having, sorry.
Go ahead,
I would
Commissioner.
say having been a frequent of the post office since 1986, I've watched that station since I was 4 years old to now. And so I can certainly verify that, I was bursting at the seams like 20 years ago.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Got you on record saying that.
Thank you.
Other questions for
Well,
Nicole?
it's
Yes,
just-
Commissioner.
It's nice to see where they were at this point, it's really good. And that all the parties have come together and have a meeting. I think the location is gonna be next to Miller Creek. For Lakeland, for all of Fulton, really, the people that come into Lakeland will be able to use that also. So let's not just focus on Lakeland,
Right.
but it's good for everybody.
Connectivity.
And just to have the partners coming in and agreeable to what we're doing is great. So congratulations to the staff and congratulations to Tom for this. I look forward to seeing this develop.
And I know we're a few years away from it being in place, but I will say, as long as the Florida State Science and Engineering Fair stays coming back to the Arc Funding Center, this would be a great point to all the students that come from South
Yeah.
State, to hop on a squeeze and go downtown, and it allows further planting of seeds for them to consider, coming to-
Absolutely. Yes, that's a great point. And again, I always like to say, because I think sometimes the RP Funding Center doesn't get credit that it's due, that the RP Funding Center hotels, even with the loss of Magic and the Tropics, those hotels are still at 95% occupancy on Friday and
Year
Saturday
round.
nights,
Yeah.
year round.
Yeah.
And it is a very, very popular squeeze stop. So we know that area is there, and as the mayor and the chair had said, it would really connect what we think of as downtown with, and stretch that out. And then you imagine something that ties in the historic Moorhead neighborhood, and then Bonnet Springs, literally right around the corner. It could all be considered kind of one flow into downtown. A big passion of ours, especially in the last few years, is how do we make Bonnet Springs in downtown and not an or. I'm not going to downtown or Bonnet Springs. I'm doing both. And this intermodal center, especially with squeeze carts there, could really turn that into the way people see it as a thoroughfare of an and.
Right, but letting me go back to years ago, some of the St. Joseph's when it was there, so People's Bank and St. Joseph's obviously have kind of that, it was downtown, more downtown then than what it is now.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so I think valid point to be able to get the western side of Lakeland to
Mhm.
connect itself is great.
The beginning school on that side.
Yes, and they strategically, Commissioner Coney, picked that site. I think it was an old McGee Tire, specifically because of the proximity to the Lakeland terminal. And they'd still have that proximity. So that's an excellent point, because they use us as the backbone of their transportation.
Other questions or comments? This is an approval item. Do we have a motion to accept? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right.
So our next presentation is Sun Fund. Paul, you want to put in? And I'll be joined by Paul Bloom, our Director of Operations.
Good morning.
So as you know, we supported Sun Fund this year. We did a great project. We ran routes from Monday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday through Sunday, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. with a break in between, and then from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. We had 4 stops along the way. The Rose Street Park and Ride. We stopped at downtown Lakeland, Lakeside Village. We stopped at RP Hunting Center, and then, of course, the drop-off gate in front. We did a really big marketing push for this, and we got some really great results. So from April 2nd to April 19th, we had just over 375,000 views. We reached 153,000 people, and we had 7,200 landing pages. So really thinking about, hey, how do we get the message out that we're doing it? It was our first time, our first run with Sun Fund, so wanting to share that information. For ridership, not too bad for a first go, right? We had 460 customers use the Sun Fund vehicle. And here you can see that we had just under 200 on the weekend.
So as usual, we've had a unique group of operators that took on Sun Fund for us this year. They were very excited about what we could accomplish in the first time. And because there was a level of jealousy with the operators, we did the Tiger, we had to move it around a little and get other people involved, which made it a lot more fun for them. Our operators were extremely efficient. We had some challenges on the south side of Lakeland, but with the challenges, they gave us opportunities. Most of the people who traveled with us on the Sun Fund were from Florida, Texas, Colorado, Washington. We did regular surveys as we did normally on the special event. And we got a total of about 30 surveys. Region, we had 83% of customers would recommend this service. And then we have 75% of customers who responded that they would actually ride this service. Okay. Some of the comments that came through from customers were perfect. They wanted more frequency. And they think that was the best ride ever, which was no surprise to us in terms of that. And they enjoyed working with our operators. Sorry. Some of the other things they talked about was how we could change planning routes from different locations, which we effectively did. The second year around, we started at 2 different points. We started from the airport and we started from the Butterbur Pass feature on the way. So the frequency would improve significantly because of that process. That's it. Question?
Just one more thing, because I couldn't see our slide up there, but wanted to thank City of Lakeland, wanted to thank the Center for Excellence, the Aerospace Center of Excellence, and Lakeland PD for their collaboration with the startup.
And this is similar, I think you've heard this already for the board members, but this is similar to our first year of Tiger Town Express. So it's just sort of, we don't have muscle memory yet, but I think it could be helpful. I'm glad to see the positive responses that we had, from the people. The responses that we did get seem to be positive. And we're always going to talk about, rapid, not rapid, but the service consistency and timing, being faster. And that's just something with public transit, I think. I'm not sure that Florida travelers are used to and, don't I think if they go to other cities where they have a volume of buses and access that go continually, and we're just a little more spread out. So that's always probably gonna be a rub on timing and, you know, not waiting on one, when we are very nice. I saw the comment, we waited on one passenger, there are buses behind us. But it's like, if you were the one passenger, you'd be glad that somebody waited on you. But, anyway, great job on that.
I know we had some struggles with the Lakeside Village also during that
Yes.
time, so I think seeing the comment that they had, so hopefully that won't be an issue next time.
So staff is meeting and working on our relationship, on how we interface with Lakeside Village. Our relationship with Lakeside Village Hotels is extremely strong. They own their own properties, their own parking lots, the dirt that's there. Lakeside Village management out of Delaware sees the mall as a mall. And then parking is specifically for those patrons. So we're working on how we navigate that in the future so that we're good partners too.
And of course, now we have time until the next one, whereas this year,
Yes,
it
and
just happened right there at the last.
And
one.
Commissioner Santiago, Commissioner's Chair, we still haven't circled back with Gene and his team to get their feedback
Yeah.
on that. I think ultimately from the feedback that we got as a team, that break we took in the afternoon was a little bit confusing. Because folks did want to go back in the afternoon. So I think we need to revisit that. So there's always room to improve, but as the chair said, if you look at 200,000 participants over the 6 days, and the 460 rides, and then you look at 18 to 20,000 people in each Tigers game, we did 6 days as well during our initial pilot. We did almost the same percentage on the Tiger Town, so it should go up if those two things are similar. But again, we're gonna look at that, unpack it with Gene on his side. And then just as a reminder, and we'll want to talk about this at the strategic planning session, we did do this with the Light Up Bonnet Springs money. Because we left that in the budget. So if Light Up Bonnet Springs comes back next year, we'll want to talk from a fiscal standpoint and a planning standpoint that we have not budgeted for both Sun and Fun and Light Up Bonnet
Right.
Springs. So that'll be a conversation we want to have.
I think too, I think everyone knows, Tom was really great. The Florida Southern, was it MBA program? They did a contest about marketing the Sun and Fun Express, and he and I got to judge all the, reporting and everything. And, you know, one of the big, and I think everyone knows this, but I don't ever want to assume, the pilots that come in is like fish in a barrel. Like there are just so many pilots. And so the MBA students really targeted that group about getting them kind of throughout Lakeland instead of just hemmed up over at the Sun and Fun property. And then the campers, I think there's the camping volume, I'm eager to see from Gene's perspective, you know, how we can grab some of the campers that come out to Sun and Fun and get them to use this to access some of the goods and services that we offer in the city of Lakeland or beyond in the rest of Polk County, maybe Legoland if you have kids out there. It is a city out there during the week. And this is my first time that I parked over near camping. This was because I'm on the Sun and Fun board. And I was like, this is like a whole village, big village of lots of people.
Get a pool, Bill Reed and just park our golf carts down there.
So the golf carts stress me out. Like the parking and the scooters, and the bike rent. I mean, like I got hemmed in by golf carts one day. I was like, oh, this is a lot. There's a lot that goes on out there that just organically seems to happen. I know it's not organic. I know it's very structured, but it's a fun thing. Sure.
So Juan, as far as running until 11 PM, I know we took a break during the day. Do we have an idea of what the ridership was, say from like that 10 to 11? Do we have any people on the buses late at night?
On the weekend, between Saturday and Friday. Beyond that, no.
I was looking at hour offset wise, like maybe if we move those hours to tighten up that middle, right?
yeah.
there.
Daytime, yeah.
Because based on what we observe, we have the red line that goes to the airport. And during the window of closure, we had people actually riding the red line, thought it was a shuttle. So we know that window is more effective than the later.
Okay, As far as the app, did we update it to where the Sun and Fun route was identified on our app that we have as far as the ridership, or not ridership, but the,
I believe Aaron and the marketing team at Tinsley Creative had all of the information up on the website. I don't know that our app, well, our app, was available up on the Sunfield.
Yeah, I feel.
Okay,
Oh, look at it.
so it will be next
or
year.
so that would help Sue, so I can comment.
Excellent comment.
Did we have, as far as the Sun and Fun website, I know Gina's group, were we on their website?
Yes.
Yes.
We were on their website.
I couldn't find it on the website.
You could find it on the website. It was easily accessible.
Okay.
And Aaron, remind me of the email pushes months before as compared.
Correct.
Yeah.
And local media did it.
Oh,
And it also.
At the very end,
Okay. Do we know, as far I know, the one screenshot we had, it was an ad. Do we know what the ad spend was on that campaign that we did for some online marketing? The ad spend for the online, so this said it was a, I'm assuming it was like a sponsored ad that we have in social.
But it's not based on how many times it does it, you give them a budget.
Right.
And then they let,
So what was the budget that we had?
so now.
Okay, gotcha.
Up until that point, it wasn't 2000,
No,
it was 2000 up till that point.
right, okay, I got you. And then as far as, did we have signage at all the pickup location? We talked about Lakeside Village. Do we have signage there or we didn't have?
we had signage at the Lakeside Village hotels.
Okay, but not where the actual pickup location was. That would be.
At our shelter, we were banned from putting up a sign.
That was the
That
struggle.
was the struggle.
So I'm saying that's probably what resulted in
Yeah.
having it out of our.
Yeah, that was
And it
after.
happened just like right before.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
started, so we didn't even have time to prepare.
I think
Yeah.
just a moment for the background. When the LPGA event occurred at the Grasslands, the Grasslands contracted with Lakeside Village for it to be the parking spot for the entire tournament. And over by the Cobb Theater, they roped off an area, there were tickets, there was security, and then they ran express buses to the event. Then we're doing Sun and Fun right on top of that, and I think that where the communication was difficult was that they thought we were doing that level of park and ride and express
okay.
buses and gonna take up hundreds of spots, and that was never in any of our thoughts. But as we explained that to them, it was almost as if they'd already made up their minds.
Yeah.
And
And
that's-
they're not here. You know, the management is not local.
Very good. Thank you.
I thought of something when you asked. Oh, the Sun and Fun app. I'm gonna talk to you about this, is a little hard. It's not y'all. It has nothing to do with Citrus Connection.
Website overall.
The what?
The website overall, that weapons on the sun is not 20 years.
I know. And it's a schedule, like when you're trying to, I'm like, I just want to see when the Thunderbirds are coming. Like, why don't we just scroll through the whole schedule? I don't care about the, you know, the professor, PhD person talking about
The
aeronautical.
whole thing.
I know, I don't need to know somebody talking about STEM stuff. Like, I just want to see the planes fly. Yeah. It's, I'm gonna ask about that. And it's been that way for years. Like, it's been in a, you know, lights and the spreadsheet and the whole thing. But I think we're in the app too. I think we were in the Sun and Fun app as well, Citrus Connection wise, but, yeah, that is just hard to know.
So we got the best schedule on the one screen and then right by that, the Citrus Connection. Like.
Yeah. I mean, it's all like that. It's hard because the other thing that I've known this for years, but learning more, because I've only been on the Sun Fun board or ACE board for like a year. They have their own, just like anything, they have their own lexicon and their own language, and like all the pilots and all the aeronautical people speak the same language. And they just like, I've been to board meetings that start at 3:30 and I got there at like 3:32 because of the construction on Pipkin, and we were like on item 10 on the agenda. I was like, okay, so I'm late, obviously, like by 2 minutes, but we're halfway through the agenda. So they just run differently in a good way, all good things. So any other questions about the Express? Okay, we'll move to strategic plan. Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so we are here to share Q2 of the strategic plan. So just a refresher, what the success looks like for Citrus Connection. This is what the board of directors really determined they wanted us to focus on this year, which was customers, community, and employees. So our success outcomes are improving the customer experience. So Citrus Connection will deliver 85% of service on time as measured by daily flow. Investing in employees, Citrus Connection will retain 90% of its workforce by providing competitive wages and benefits. Community value, Citrus Connection will establish a baseline of community perception of Citrus Connection services. So we had 3 champions for our success outcomes. Paul Sims, Director of Operations for improving customer experience. We have Tony Kirk, Director of Human Resources for investing in employees. And Aaron Kilgreen-Kinlaw for community value. So as you recall, we created a cadence of accountability, which means every quarter we will come to you and share how we did for that quarter. Our first meeting, or our first report out, was the February board meeting, and we're here today for Q2 reporting. So just wanted to remind you guys that upcoming, when we do the board retreat in June, we will kind of review our success outcomes and say, hey, are these the things we want to focus on for next year? So our scoring methodology for the success outcome is really setting the values up for each success outcome to equal 100. The score is a percentage of the total value of what they did based on, or their current value of what they did divided by the total value to get our points. So, how did we do overall for Q2? We were really strong. We got a B. When we look at everything, when we pull everything together, the reason why we do this, right, is because we wanted to make sure that we had clear goals, that everybody understood, that we could easily track those goals and that the goals were measurable, and really track our performance. Are we really doing what we said we would do? So when we think about Q2 overall, we really improved. I feel like Q1, we took a little bit of a beating, right? We took a little bit of a beating. We had a C-. We brought that up a full letter grade. We are at a B+. Improving the customer experience, we increased that just under 16 points. That's huge. 16 points may not sound like a lot, but it really is huge. Our missed trips. We tanked our missed trips our first quarter. Missed trips, we decreased that to 1%, which is awesome. New hire retention at 1 year, 90.9%. That's huge for an organization who couldn't even get all of the positions filled for what, 6 years, right? So big deal. Yay, big deal, guys. Come on, that's exciting. We completed our employee engagement survey. Our recognition activities for employees increased, and social media increased. We had a huge social media push. Aaron and the team have really been doing a great job to really reach the masses with social media. And then our outreach events also increased. All right, and with that, I'm gonna let Paul talk to you about customer experience.
Just before I get into detail of customer experience, we have with us our partner Transition. She's here with us today, and Serena. They have been our partner with Transition for, well, Keith is there for a year now, but we have been in partnership for quite a number of years. And I think it was important that they be with us today because they have contributed to the improvements that we have had for Keith. So our goal that was set for system-wide on-time performance was 85%. Currently, we are at 78.92%. And we look at that further and make a comparison to what it was in Q1. Route performing 85% and above, we have 26.47%. And mixture, like you said, our target was 1%. We have 1%. So congratulations to the team that have worked assiduously hard for that success. And our customer on-time performance satisfaction. Now, in Q1, we were looking at the comparative numbers. We were at 76% system-wide on-time performance, and we are at 78% now in Q2. Route level on-time performance, we were at 8.8%. Currently, we are at 26.5%. And our missed trip was at 3.5%, now we are at 1%. So system-wide, we're at 2.5% increase in terms of our on-time performance. Route level, we are 200%, and percentage missed trip is decreased by 250%. This is what we had. If you remember last time when you looked at the routes below 60%, we had roughly about maybe 8 to 9 routes that were in that category. And we promised that our goal was to move them over to the left. And I'm happy to share with you today that at least 4 of our routes that are in the green, 85% on time, we're currently in the red. So that's a significant improvement for those routes. And the route between 60 and 80, we look forward to making sure that they move up between 80 and 84% for the third quarter.
And Paul, can you remind them where the pink line is, just so you know?
So the pink line is on the corridor, the medical corridor with the
Lakeland
construction
Hills.
that's taking place now.
Let's get the city.
We're challenged
Yeah.
significantly because of the construction. We have 2 travel buses that are operating on that route also. So we're hoping that it will go away.
So that's Lakeland Hills, stick with 33.
When's the project?
We're hoping, I mean, I don't know, they had told me 3 spring trainings and we've just gone through 2 spring trainings, but someone said recently it will be done before the next spring training. So I don't know if that's December, if it's January, if it's like the day before. I have no idea.
Got it.
And I'm cautiously optimistic that it won't be a 3rd spring training. Yeah, it's been, I mean, that is, I'm glad you noted that because that is something entirely out of our control.
Yeah, it's gonna sit, I appreciate Paul's comments. I think it's gonna sit in the red until.
Yeah.
Until the construction's over. But again, we're trying to mitigate that with the circulators and the Tiger Town Express.
And Sean said yesterday at State of the City that it's gonna be the smoother side's gonna open up, the newly paved side. I think that'll help a little bit with time than having to traverse those bumps and rattles and all that. Liability.
The natives have a lot to do.
Yeah.
Were there other,
Commissioner Santiago.
were there other reasons besides traffic and construction that causes the buses not to be in time? Anything that stands out?
Outside of traffic, it could be wheelchairs. Wheelchairs take significant time from time, depending on who's operated to get on and off. Sometimes it's just passengers not prepared. They get on buses and it takes them a while to get their fares or their cards ready for the scan. Just issues that you really don't have control over and change the patterns.
So do you have the buses that are 85% on time? Do you have them working with the other drivers to see what some of the best practices are that could help in those areas that you mentioned? You have them coordinating together to see that?
They do coordinate together, but what you find is on certain routes, you have consistently wheelchair passengers while on others you rarely do have. So that makes a difference in terms of access to the future.
So are you saying that they will never increase to that 85%?
Not necessarily that it won't, we look at changes, sometimes we just routes, sometimes we add process to routes to improve the frequency, and if we have more frequency, what it means is that it helps with the future passengers. If you have a route that has like 1 hour cycle, and you have 3 wheelchairs, that's gonna kill you. If you have a route like the Gold Line, which has 2 buses on it at any one time, or 4 on both ends, then that, even though they have a number of wheelchairs, it won't affect as much the frequency.
So it's really rider ready. Some of the issues that we're facing are like rider ready.
And I think that Commissioner Santiago, to your point, if we cross train, if we're seeing a higher utilization by those who utilize wheelchair positions, our bike usage, et
Say
cetera,
bikes.
then the ultimate way that we move those into the green is through looking at, does that 60-minute route make sense? Or is it impossible to get it 60 minutes? Do we need to look at making that a 75-minute route or a 90-minute route? That's kind of the last thing. That's the Alamo, where we say, okay, this due to these conditions, 60 minutes is not attainable. So we need to be realistic with our customers and say this route is now gonna maybe add a little bit more space or time, hit a different area, add an area, and we're gonna move it to 90 minutes. That's not something we want to do, but if we have to, we want to be realistic. The flight from Denver takes 45 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes. We need to be realistic that that's the flight time.
Yeah, because then you'll never get those.
Right. Yeah, we
That's
don't
why
want to
there's
do, we don't
An
want to do that.
opportunity to move to the green,
Right.
because
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have, any more questions? We have, so you're clearly looking at the increases that we had, in the red, in the green from 3 to 9, in the yellow from 6 to 10. And I know sometimes decrease seems like it's a bad thing, but in this case, decrease is a good thing, because those that are in the 60, between 60 and 80, were decreased from 18 to 14. And those are some of those that moved up to the 85% in the green. And those below 60 were reduced from 6 to 1. So that's significantly important also to note that they were moving up into the high category. So we say mixture, and one of the things that I should have said, 1% of all scheduled trip, but 1%, and 75.1% decrease in missed trip. So this slide, I'm gonna say we have some technical issues with 27A because of poor available system. So where you see that missed trip at 61% on 27A, it's one of the routes we have on the east side. We're working at improving that. It significantly has impacted the numbers, and we're hoping that in Q3 that you will not see that anymore. That's not real, it's just a technical error. But we had to take the report as is because we want to be as honest as we can based on the report. But we've been working on that. The next quarter, you'll see the difference there. So on the west side of the county at 62%, and on 38% of missed trip on the east side of the county.
So can you tell me what a missed trip is? I called for like I'm in TD or I'm in something like that, and then I didn't show up, or what is a missed trip?
Not on fixed route. Fixed route it's not a scheduled trip on fixed route.
Right.
So missed trip, we have frequent trips.
Right.
So if we're not on time forming those trips, we consider a missed trip.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's a frequency, and sometimes because if the way they track the trip, if it is saying that we never been on that road all day,
Got it.
And that is why that looks the way.
Okay.
If that's what.
So that's what you're talking about with 27X. There's a disconnect that we're writing it, but it's not reporting it.
Correct.
Okay.
We actually proved it because
Yeah,
we have supervisors actually rolled behind the bus
right.
for 1 week. And
To
the
see.
report didn't show it. It still said we didn't cover the route.
Okay.
So we're working on that. All right, and we are at a favorable D. If you remember the last time around, we were at a X.
Yeah.
Still
Getting
not-
better. We might pass this semester.
I'm not completely happy where we are, but I feel like our team has worked extremely hard to gain the progress that we are now. So next quarter, when we come back, we are hoping to be in the very high. And we're gonna be with everybody else, either A or A plus.
I like the A call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. All right, so I think we need to give operations a round of applause, really.
Yeah.
Really strong work in that last quarter. I mean, I know Paul's not happy with the D, but really, like, we've moved the needle, right? And that's what we want to do, move the needle. All right, so Tony is gonna come share with us a little bit about HR and investing in our employees and what that looks like.
We love investing in our employees. Madam Chair, members of the board. So currently, we've implemented a 4-day work week, which is helped tremendously. Driver retention, which is really huge, we're at 91.3%. As you know, the vast majority of our workforce are the drivers, and that's what moves the needle. That's what gets people moving around the city and the county and things of that nature. So we're very, very pleased with the driver retention rate. Voluntary turnover rate, it's decreasing. And then the new hire, the first 90 days is the most critical for any employee, not only the bus drivers, but also just our support staff and things of that nature. And so to be at that 82% rate we're really comfortable with that. Retention after 1 year, 90%. We are retaining 90% of our people after 1 year. Employee engagements at 66%. And we're in the implementation stages regarding some retention programs and things of that nature. We're thinking about instituting a retention task force. But the reason why we're only in the implementation stage of that for the time being is because we don't know if we have a retention issue. Clearly, we're able to retain 90% of our employees after 1 year. And so do we really have a problem with keeping our people? And so we'll just continue to examine and look at that. Any questions here? New operators hired in the second quarter, 9. New operators retained after 90 days. In the first quarter was 91%. And then you can see that we are maintaining that trend. I'd like to recognize my recruiters. Some of the retention activities, the GEM award that's going the extra mile program. We've given those awards out on several different occasions at various previous board meetings. Newsletter and CCTV recognition for competition winners. The rock painting initiative, that was a hit. People were going around painting rocks and things of that nature. All of these types of retention activities and employee engagement activities are really helpful. Employee Appreciation Day, we had a really huge barbecue that actually ended up going 2 days because we had so much food the one day that we ended up extending that a second day. Day-to-day verbal recognition by the leadership and peer-to-peer recognition of the Citrus Connection soccer team, work anniversaries, salty and sweet Fridays. HR has started this tradition where they go around and they give out sweet and salty treats on Fridays. And that's always been a really big hit, and they continue to be team lunches for anniversaries and referral promotions. As you can see right now, we're at 87% B plus. Preferably, third quarter will be an A, but right now we feel really, really good about where we're at from a recruiting and retention perspective. We're no longer in the business of mass hirings. When I first came, we were like 10, 15 positions down, and I think we were down to a couple of onesies and twosies here and there. And so we just feel really good about where we're at right now. Any questions?
Good work. Thank you.
All right.
And for the new
Guys,
what I will say is for the new board members is so we did have those vacancies. But when we renegotiated with unions and we went, and that was in 2024, Tom,
Yes.
that we worked to really pay our team members better, and we increased their hourly wage and did things like that. That also helped. So it was kind of a big fabric woven together of different activities that came along that have helped those numbers too.
I just wanted to go back to the scorecard for just one moment and just these 50% here, just wanted to emphasize that this isn't a bad thing, because when we were planning for this and figuring out, hey, what are those things that we want to measure? We said, okay, yes, retention program, task force, right? A recognition plan. But then as we're doing the strategic plan, we're like, hold on, we actually have to stop here. So we may have to recalculate this, because we have to stop here because we didn't think about, hey, we got to talk to our CFO. Do we have money for a recognition program, right? Or
She just said no.
things, right? Yeah, exactly. So
So I would
those
run it.
things might not get implemented until the next fiscal year. So is it really fair to say it's 50% done? Yes, it's 50% done, but it's actually as far as that can go. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
It might be a baby.
All right.
All right, so.
all right.
All right, let's talk about community value.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Community value. So I'm not really, because we did so great on it, I'm not really gonna touch on all the good things. The perception benchmark, it's been a work in progress since I got here 11 years ago. We are trying every day to change the perception of public transportation. We're doing that with the squeeze, we're doing that with social media now. So we are actively trying. I think the biggest thing that you will notice are all the social media impressions at the bottom. We have now partnered with Tinsley Creative. So they are essentially running our social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They're the ones that have been doing our ads. They're the ones that are doing all of our graphics now so that they are consistent and concise every time we post something. Kendra has been such a blessing to our department. If you've seen any of our reels, she is doing all of them. She has created a TikTok too, but we don't have any of that data yet. So all of our stuff has increased. Presentations to our civic organizations, community events, 5 travel training, and the government and commission meetings is not only our presentations that we do to the cities. This also includes our DC trip with Nicole and I meeting with members of Congress. And then you can just, I mean, we have never had engagement like this before, and that's what partnering with Tinsley has gotten us. The reach is so much greater. And we didn't put YouTube on there, but these are our numbers for the different reels and things that we have done. And you can see Kendra's in every single one of them. We don't pay for actors. So Kendra does all of it. And right now we are going to stick with Tinsley to continue doing that. Our next campaign will be Summer of Safety. That'll kick off at the end of this month. And we also have a $2,000 budget for ads for those for that 10-week span. I think we had an A last time, so an A- isn't great, but We're moving. It's still great. We're moving. We're moving.
We're moving the needle
We're moving the needle.
collectively as a whole.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
And just remember to and I know we all do this as board members, but we also are pushing out information and speaking about, trying to, as you represent not only your city or the county, but sitting on this board, remember that transit can be I know we have a lot of things that have to be top of mind for us as public elected officials. But how we converse about transit, how we talk about it in meetings, even if it's in a meeting like this, where it's more intimate, or if you're in a larger group and doing a presentation of just always highlighting like, hey, Citrus Connection is working diligently. They do a lot with a little, and public transit is a behavioral shift. And being an historically agriculture community, we're constantly going to battle the behavioral shifts of public transit and how people in this county feel about public transit. Because I talked to someone in Hillsborough, it wasn't Polk, but one of my friends in Hillsborough was like, no one's ever on the buses. I'm like, everyone's on the buses. You just don't see. So, always not combating it, that's a negative, but just in just sharing that 84% of our riders are going to work. Like, this is a really big deal. And I think the behavioral shift is always in that one number. That's until we get people to really understand, like when they don't know that the squeeze is public transit, and that's, we got to get them to win. Like, no, that's public transit too. Like, I think those micro transit opportunities are huge. But it's also on us as representatives to keep highlighting what we do as a transit agency.
I was gonna say with that too, the squeeze certainly is a great introduction to public transit.
Yeah.
But to your point, those that I observed riding have no idea that public
No.
transit, like it looks like a downtown partnership.
Yeah.
It looks like a downtown
feel good
partnership.
quality of life.
You're like in a beach community and then just, golf carts that go around big people. So I think not like immediate, but I think over time, messaging wise, we possibly could have success in having really even something as small as, hey, thanks for riding public transit today on a squeeze.
Mhm.
To start kind of programming the next generation of public transit is for the mountain.
Yeah.
It's not for a certain group of people.
Right.
And for me, I think that's very beneficial for us.
To that point, I think that's probably more with our elderly
Mhm.
generation than our younger generation. Our younger generation is actually embracing not just the squeeze, but and intermodal transportation, but looking to ride buses and having that connectivity. My daughter, I reached out to Tom this week. I was like, daughter's looking to, when's that app up? She's asking me, hey, I'm out Friday night, enjoyed the squeeze. Be nice if I could call. I said, why don't you ask?
Here you go.
Here you go.
Yep.
And that's good because now she gets to share that. Our youthful children, college students are relying on that. So
I know they're making
spreading that message and stuff, but they're going to be the key to, I feel, driving the importance of not just people who are taking our jobs, but
Even around Mayfair last week.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate all the updates.
Yeah.
It's a confirmation. I love when I see Citrus Connection progress in motion, and that's exactly what you presented today. So this is good. You're not putting it on the shelf. You're actually working towards it and keeping us abreast of it. So thank you.
Sure.
Get to host that. It's great.
Yeah. I think she has 2 more slides.
Do you?
Yep. But you
Well,
go
this one
fast.
was
Oh, my
just
God.
reminding you that we gotta be full letter grade.
That's right. Perfect.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Good work.
Yep.
All right, we will,
Yeah, cool.
Nicole, you're still up, I think. No, it's Tony.
Tony.
Tony, we can go fast.
We can't go fast, man.
Looks it.
We can go fast. Madam Chair, member of the board, we have a couple of presentations this morning that we are really excited about. I'd like to invite Gwen and Lindsay from the Florida League of Cities to announce the Hometown Health Award.
Oh, yes.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Lindsay Fisher. I'm the Group Health Marketing Manager of the Florida League of Cities, and Gwen Mahavier is the Hometown Health Manager. We do your group health medical insurance for your employees at Citrus Connection. And we're really excited to be here today. This is literally perfect timing right after your scorecard to present you guys with $12,500 for being a recipient of the Hometown Health Award this year. The award is available to all of our municipalities in our trust, and only 5 of them across the entire state receive this award. So Citrus Connection being one of them. So I think that should move you up to an A+. To receive the award, you successfully have to renew with FMIT. So you did this past year with Group Health. Your medical loss ratio has to be lower than 80%, which is huge. That is very hard to get in medical insurance. And usually when you're under an 80%, your renewal is going to come in pretty well. So usually under medical trend is what we like to see. Again, why that's important, you're keeping your catastrophic claims down and at bay. So you're doing the right things to prevent those catastrophic claims from happening. You must be an active participant in the wellness program. And in our tier 1, you have to have 50% of your employees participate in it. So Citrus Connection, obviously they had lower than 80% on the loss ratio, and you had 63% of your employees participate in the program. So that is a huge testament to Tony, his HR team, really getting out there. So congratulations. I'm going to turn it over to Gwen. She's going to speak a little bit more on the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us out here this morning. Awesome. I love seeing all these like A's and A's. I'm like, hey, an A is an A. I remember back in college, I'm not looking at that minus. Somebody's happy it's an A, you know? And I agree with what Lindsay said, A+ on the wellness side. But no, genuinely, I have been in this role for close to 13 years with the Florida League of Cities. And I'm very proud of the amount of work and the commitment the HR team here has showed into making sure, like, how can we get as many of our employees to our employee screening event? A lot of the times when people look at employee screening and they're like, oh, I have a doctor, I don't need to go to a screening event. I know where my numbers are. This program is not meant to take the place of employees establishing those strong relationships with their healthcare providers. It's more so when we get those lab results from your doctor, you know, when your doctor said you every 6 months or every 3 months, if you're on those maintenance meds, that you're doing something about it. Just because you have high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, glucose issues, or whatever it may be, it doesn't have to always be that way. There's things we can do through behavior change to move the needle. And that's what we want to do here with employees. Bus operators. That is a notoriously hard population to reach because, of course, you know, schedules, and it makes it tough to like switch out of your day to day to spend one day to come out and like, hey, please take the time to take care of your health. Meet with our coaches, our nursing team, our screening staff, learn more about the resources that are available to you through FMIT. So again, the more people we can come together for this screening event and continue that support, the better. And Lindsay talked a lot about insurance rates and keeping things low. We do that by catching some of these people before they become catastrophic claims. I know we did have a handful of people that went through our screening event that we considered CVs. Those are critical value numbers that came through, where again, they probably might have been aware through their doctor that, hey, you have something that you really need to be working on. But a lot of the times they do not take that extra time. They rely on those medications in order to manage their situations, and sometimes they're not necessarily following the protocol. So our coaching team, specifically with WebMD Health Services, are able to handhold, set goals for them that are achievable, and for whatever reason they're not hitting a goal, or they're like, hey, you know, what's going on in life? Life's, you know, where maybe something personally is going on that's very stressful. Listen, I don't have time for XYZ because, you know, my mom, you know, she's aging or whatever it may be. We're transitioning her from, you know, her own home to a retirement facility. That's been really challenging. I know my blood pressure is really high, but you know what, that's going to take the back seat. But then our coaches are able to say, hey, listen, you know, I understand. Let me check back in with you in a couple of weeks and let's try to like at least get that stress under control. And then we can focus back in on, you know, your blood pressure and those kind of things, because hopefully that all follows suit. So again, all of that is just to say, the purpose of this program is always there just to support employees wherever they are and meet them wherever they are in their journeys when it comes to their health and well-being. So again, thank you to our HR team. It's not easy getting the employees to come out. So we want to continue that momentum. We're here to support employees however we can. So thank you so very much. And with that being said, we do have that $12,500 check in our plaque that I want to continue to give out every single year.
So this is
An
going
HR
to
can.
Yeah.
let's do it the recognition program. So we have 12,500 recognition. Yeah, we're good. 5 to 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Turn them on. Yeah, you get right there.
You take care of the rest, I'll be like, can you show that?
Oh, sorry.
Next, we will, we'll have a brief presentation from Arthur Harris. Arthur Harris is the Assistant Director with Career Source Coke, and he'll just give you a really brief overview on the OJT program.
Madam Chair, Director, just come out to give a quick update on the on-the-job training grant program. Basically, on-the-job training grant program is really where you're bringing somebody in who does not have the skill. You have to train them. All of us, when we come to a particular job, we got to be trained to be able to do that job, regardless of what the job may be. So the on-the-job training grant affords the opportunity to pick somebody who may not necessarily have the skills to be successful at that particular job. And so what we do is we'll take and reimburse that employer either 90% or 100% of the training costs associated with bringing in that new employee. Citrus Connection met with us back in December of last year. They had a very ambiguous goal of hiring 22 to 25 people in a short span of time. They asked us, could they partner with us? Could we assist them? And we told them we're in the people business. Every day we get an opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life. We see people at the worst point of their life. Some have just got laid off. Some are changing occupations. We get an opportunity to show them how we can take and help them with the services we offer at no cost, whether it's to a business or to an individual. So we met with Citrus Connection. We said we can do it. Post your job. We'll get the people. We'll send them to you. You train them. You hire them. You keep them. Guess what? Citrus Connection did. They hired 22 people in the course of one program year. And we don't have a check to come up here and give to you to show you what it did. But what I did do is I brought the checks out and gave them to your cell phone. To date, we have given you back $230,000 for training reimbursement over the course of one program. That is where it shows in retention of keeping people, invested in people. These individuals have contributed to that number you saw where it was 90%. Now, if you go to slide number 5, sir. Number 5. One more. It should be one more. You have that in front of you. The presentation is in front of you. Go down. One more. Now, click on that video and let me let somebody from your own place tell you about how we got to this point. And then I'm done. If you have any questions, you can ask me. It would have been Miss Cole, Miss Canoe, when she took it, came down, she asked us, hey, how do we get here? What can we do to help these people? If you can't get it there, it's on YouTube. It's an important testimonial from Citrus Connection. Once again, I'm Arthur Harris. I'm the Assistant Director of Business Services at Career Source Coke. I'm in the people business. If you have employers that need some help, I'm your man.
All right.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And last, but certainly not least, Madam Chair, members of the board, I have before you a position description for your review for the board attorney position. We have had conversation in previous board meetings about the desire to go out and pursue our own board attorney. And so what you have here is a position description. And as we kind of talked about this particular process, perhaps this may need to be an approval item in that if you approve, we will then begin the recruitment process for this position.
This is not listed as an approval item, it's just listed as FYI, so what do you want the process to be? On this?
So we had talked about if the board desires to explore bringing the attorney in-house, you could approve that we post the position and collect the resumes for review. Just as a reminder for the new board members, the district's 45 years old. And to this point, Mr. Darby has been our attorney the entire time. And he is a contract employee. So bringing the attorney in-house, ultimately, this individual would be an employee of the board of directors. And so that's a substantial change, one that the board would make. So if you would like us to post that position, that's something we could do, gather those resumes, and the board and Mr. Darby could review those resumes to see if it's something that you'd like to do. We just felt it important to come to you as staff, that ultimately this is your decision on how you want to advance the district. If you post the job, you look at the resumes, you find that you're not seeing what you want to see, our procurement department has already prepared an RFP to put on the street for contracted services, like many of the smaller municipalities do. I think, I believe it's called Dunwald and Dunlap. Are the attorneys for many smaller municipalities. We put an RFP on the street for something like that. So Chair, I hope that answers your question. If you'd like to make an approval item to effectively cast the net out and see what you get.
I'll do, yeah, Commissioner Coney.
Is there advantage one way or the other?
I defer to Mr. Darby.
Well, yes, I will. I think that I would recommend an in-house position where the description is excellent, Tony. It really is. I've reviewed it and it covers everything. And there are certain things that need to be done by an attorney, which I honestly have not been doing. They've been handled by the employees here. I could go on and on. There's a lot to it. Over the year, my contract indicates that I provide services as requested, like it's the second alternative that you mentioned, to hire somebody, Roswell and Dunlop, just to be on call, so to say. But I think in the environment today, it would be good to seriously consider having an in-house attorney, because in reviewing the job description, I'm reminded as to how much there is here. This is like I said, okay, as I describe it to people, it's a governmental entity and you've got a lot of issues. It may be that you need to still enter into an engagement agreement with the labor law firm. That's really
Yeah.
specialized area.
Yeah.
One thing, I don't think the attorney would do that.
Right.
And what's going on now, there are two parts to this. As I've indicated before and talked with Tom and Tony, I'm trying to get things organized now, to turn over documents that need to be turned over. That's one thing I'm doing, but at the same time, there's going to need to be a transition period. I anticipate it's not just like 5. I'm not going to see you all again. I anticipate that I'm going to need to consult with whoever the new attorney is, just for some institutional knowledge conveyance to whoever it is. And so my 2 cents, this is an excellent job description. So I would say if the board chooses to go ahead and send this out, see what you get for an in-house attorney. That's what I think would be best for the district.
Okay.
And to have somebody here, and I've dealt with you all, there's been a lot of change over all the years.
Yeah.
And honestly, the situation has changed as far as how things have worked. And I could, as I mentioned, I may just stop and write a book about it, but
Yeah, there's a lot.
there's been a lot
Yeah.
of differences over all the years.
Yeah.
of how things have been handled, believe by
Yeah.
board members and employees. I mean, it's all over the place. And I know a lot about that. So anyway, that's my 2
Okay.
cents. So I think that's enough for now, but I'll be glad to do whatever. I'll be glad to be on the transition committee and And
And help.
help you all decide whether this person would work, but it's not gonna be my vote though. I think sometimes I should have a vote though.
Commissioner Thiago had her hand up.
In my personal opinion, I think we need to take a vote. This is a dramatic change. You said 45 years, so we're changing a huge process here. So I think for documentation purposes, I think we should go ahead and take an official vote on this.
So your motion would be to accept this draft and push it out to
Push
the
it out.
public for recruiting
Yeah,
purposes, and depending on what we see that comes in, coming back to the board about, but I mean, is that what your motion?
Yeah.
Not that I'm giving you a motion.
No, and that's just my opinion. I don't know what the other
Yeah,
people. think,
yes,
but-
Commissioner Scott.
Three things, one of, I would also second, I read through the description, I think. Yeah, you did a great job of describing, I think, the ins and outs, in addition to the labor law attorney. I would think that we'd still likely retain
Yeah.
for litigation measures, litigation is something that we don't wanna internalize either, if we don't do it with the county. It's a more complex case, so long as we're of the understanding for that. And then my other concern, which it was, kind of like reading a good novel, and the good part, as I was reading, and I'm like, well, it's a lot of great quality that we're looking for. I'm really hoping that the salary range that we are forecasting is going to be commensurate with what we're seeking. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that we were, I think, realistic based on other metrics that we're looking at for competitive salaries to at least be able to offer that to a candidate. So there's, there's kind of the both sides of the decision. When you really want that, you really want that person, but you don't have the budget for it, well, you're really kind of going in the dark.
Right.
And I think so for us, we've not only done a great job of writing the description and hopefully recruiting the right individual, but we've done a great job of being realistic on what it's gonna take to land that person as well. So I would, is a second, or my motion, I would second
Well, I'll
that.
make that motion.
Yeah.
You put it
Sure.
nicely. So you're
I would
second.
second that motion, based on what we have in front of us.
Yeah, based on what we have, the motion would be to approve this job description to put out to market
That's correct.
and accept resumes. You're before.
Yep, and I'll second that.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. Just from working with Ben the last several years that I've been here, having an in-house support mechanism is, I think we've outgrown. The contractual, I agree that the labor attorney, I want to keep, that would keep me up at night. So I think having that outside source is extraordinarily important. Especially in this day and age, and and that firm does good work for us. But if it needs to go out for RFP at another point too, I mean, obviously we have that in our procurement where we will do that on the regular. But I agree, I concur with everything everybody said.
The only other thing, the litigation matters, claims are held in the Florida League of Cities insurance. That's worked perfectly over the years. So the only other comment I'll make is if it's in-house, then there would need to be consideration as to what support would be needed for that in-house attorney. Legal assistant, secretary, equipment, all of those issues. That came up in a discussion years ago when the same issue came up as to why are we paying Ben or whatever? Why don't we just get somebody here? Well, okay, if we get somebody here, we're gonna have to hire a secretary and all of this. And so that's another thought, if it's truly in-house, which I think it should be. That's just my opinion.
Well, and I think Tony and maybe Tom, you all can look at too. I know we're getting a new admin that might have some extraordinary skills that could support temporarily even, but rethinking how we all work and rethinking the positions that we have, not adding to anybody's one plate, but diversifying and even giving experiences in the legal world might be helpful too. Like, I think you could look at a lot of different options for support. In addition to obviously a designated person, but Carly may want to go to law school. We'll just throw it at her like she's right. No, I'm just kidding. She already has her mask. Just seeing if you're paying attention. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Further discussions or questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with the recruitment process.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, we're gonna go to Marcia and she has 2 action items for us this morning.
So while she gets this
Good morning, Madam Chair, and Board and Cities Connection team. We're here today to discuss the transportation implementing service changes that we want to employ for our next TV budget year. That I was in charge of this. So as the CPC, we're responsible for making sure that we ensure transportation is allocated throughout the Polk County strategically, and make sure that we work to serve the public with the best possible needs with the growing needs of our community. Over the years, there's been some significant change to our transportation disadvantage program and the trends in how we actually do business. And while Allen County Medical Transportation is particularly to the VA hospital, historically, there's been important services like evolving partnership with the VA shuttle, which has improved their VA shuttle to and from the VA hospitals. VA is contracted with Hoover Health, and with the new facility on the Lakeland site, we've had a significant change in the number of transportation requests for the VA hospital. For some of you who were not here 2 years ago, one of the changes we made a couple of years ago was we took our transportation for Allen County from 5 days a week because of the growing need to 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday. And since then, with the VA hospital open up, we've seen a significant change. Last year for our fiscal year, we did 32 trips to the VA hospital. This year, up to date to March, we've only done 2. And while the VA transportation needs have significantly decreased, the demand for local transportation in our county has roads. So there's been a huge growing need on the east side of the county, particularly for that borderline of the east side of the county. Last year's numbers was 154, but we still had, at the end of March, we still had 3 months and we were at 170, 71. So we've increased the number of trips provided to the east side of the county, the number of trip requests for the east side of the county. Most of what that is the increase from medical facilities opening up over through Polk County, and people needing to the growth in Polk County with the urbanized, East Polk County is becoming more urbanized, and so there's more life sustaining and medical trip requests for the east side of the county. With transportation disadvantage, with having to serve such a large community, there's been some funding challenges and inefficiencies. So over the last 3 to 4 years, we've had significant change in our population, but despite that, we've had a relative unchanged amount of drawdown from the state. As of right now, we took a haircut in the last 3 years, and we only had a small increase, which was about $3,000 over the last 3 years. As of today, we have not received our allocation for our next year, so we don't know what that number will be next year. So now we're just talking and discussing operationally about how do we, what's the most impact we can have regardless of how much money we get for our county. So our goal is to cut out county transportation, in partly because when a vehicle leaves our county, appointments are scheduled between 9 and 12 o'clock. That is to ensure that people who have early morning appointments can get there. And we have a cutoff for 12 o'clock, so we would have the opportunity to be able to come back to our county and be able to take people home and still work in our operational hours. When that happens, you leave the county, you take two people. We'll say generally that's the max we generally take. That vehicle is tied up out of the county, so for 4 to 5 hours. That does not include travel time. And because of that, that route may only do to take 2 people over and 2 back. That's for 4 trips, 4 passenger counts for that day. That is we feel like that is something that just puts undue hardship for our county, where we could take those resources that we're traveling out of county and put them to the where the growing need is for on the east side of the county where there's a need. So the service impact for continuing to travel out of county is that we could particularly serve more passengers locally by cutting out of county transportation. and respond to more of the growing needs for the east side of town. But more importantly, it increases, going out of county increases the wait time, and so by moving the bus over, it would decrease the wait time for people that are on the east side of the county. Before making that decision, we wanted to just look at the data, and the data analysis to just determine what are the traffic patterns for the customer, what type of trip requests are their need, and what's the origin and destination for those patterns, and then where the trips that we're taking. If you look on the west side of the county, last year, we did 56 trips on our west side. That's Tampa, VA Hospital, and other medical facilities on Hillsborough. And this year, we've only did 18. So it's a drastic cut in the number of trips provided on the west side of the county. But the east side, you'll see the growth is about 2.75% increase over the west side of the county. So we've identified through the analysis that there's a significant number of people living on the east side of the county that's using the service. And because they're borderline of the county, it could be, we're here and on the Polk side, and we've crossed the street, we're on another county. And so we're not suggesting that those people that are living on the borderline of the county that we cut transportation. We want to be able to still provide them a level of transportation to meet their life-sustaining needs. So rather than say out of county, we're gonna change it to a 10-mile radius on the other side. So from point of origin. So hypothetically, I live right on the borderline and I need transportation. I will still be able to go to my medical appointments, to the grocery store, to Walmart, to Publix within a 10-mile radius of my home. This still allows us to be good stewards of taxpayers' money. It doesn't, if I cut things out of county all the way, I would say that if I'm living across the street from a Walmart and we say we're not going out of county, I would particularly have to schedule a passenger 10 to 15 miles in the opposite direction just to say that we're in county. So that's why we came up with 10-mile radius around our county, around their home, one of origin. So some of the benefits for change is we will continue to provide life-sustaining trips for our riders. We'll improve our operational efficiencies by having another bus over on the east side of the county to meet the demand and the high demand focused local areas. Impact of change, we wanted to identify how many people that this could potentially have a negative impact on. When we looked at the east side of the county, the people that were traveling over unduplicate head counts for the east side of the county was about 21 people for this year and about 8 people for the west side of the county. But the number of passengers traveling over those 10 miles, the number of passenger trips over the 10 miles for the west side for this year was 18. And for the east side, there was 80. The majority of passengers will continue to receive the transportation services that are provided under the Transportation Disadvantage Program. And through our intake process, we will work with some of our coordinators and other TNCs to provide a soft launch to get them to other services available to them, and coordinate. And in some cases where people are able-bodied, maybe we would be able to not just, we would transfer them to other resources. Like, for example, they live on their 27 corridor, we could transfer them to 22X or 16X or one of the fixed route services so they could get to the place that they need to go to. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Marcia. That was really good. And just for the board, realizing that Northeast sector, that it is so, you could be in the Four Corners, which means there are 3 other counties that could be a stone's throw away from where you are. So that is a great initiative. Commissioner Scott.
What is the time frame? I know we're gonna work on providing other resources for those that are greater than 10 miles from the transportation need. What's the time frame that we're allowing for that? Because obviously I want to make sure that they are taken care of as much as possible, especially when you look at life-sustaining treatment, since they're 12 miles away and now they don't have an option.
So what I've learned over doing this for quite a few years is that there's no way to
we can send out notifications that we're gonna do the change, but until the need comes up, there's no reason, there's no way that I can make contact with the person to tell them that. We will send out mass letters to the people that are providing transportation under our, Transportation Disadvantage Program. This particularly would go in effect with our next fiscal year for TV, which would be July. And so to make the answer quick, I'll use myself as an example. When I went to go have an MRI, they immediately scheduled me to a doctor within their network. Because that's just a happening pattern of healthcare professionals. However, 2 days later, I get a call from insurance company to say, we have somewhere cheaper, more local for you to be able to go to. So I think a lot of times the doctors sign those referrals to go out of area because they remain in their network. The times that I've had to say to customers, this trip can be provided locally in Polk County. 90% of the time, they never come back to me. I'm not gonna say 90, I'm saying 99% of the time, they never call us back to transportation, because when you ask those questions, the doctors often realize the healthcare facilities here in Polk County have grown over the years. There's facilities in Polk County that could truly assist them with their medical. They just choose to go to their preferred network provider within the healthcare facility, not insurance, but their healthcare, their partners. And so that's why a lot of times they sign them to go out of county. So when we work with them, most of the time they never come back to our transportation. What we will, what we generally do, even if we can, if say for example, a person's never signed up for us and there's a process to go through it, we call around, Kelly will call around, look at our coordinating agencies and see where they look for the best funding source available, the funding, the most cost-effective way to be able to get them to use an alternative service. Yeah.
Any other questions from Marcia? All right, this is an approval item. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And Marcia, I have to be out of here with everything signed by 10:30. Okay. That was awesome. That was very important though. So I appreciate that. Oh, wait, we didn't vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So the next one is a resolution that you guys approved in November, but unfortunately, we kind of didn't get you to do the resolution part. So it was approved in November. You gave us authorization to enter into agreement with the Transportation Disadvantage for a memorandum agreement from July of this year until June of June of 31. So it was, you approved it, but we did not do the resolution. But if you have questions, I can answer the questions.
Second.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. And after the approval stuff, y'all can stay and keep talking. I just have to go. I just need to be able to sign stuff before I leave. Okay.
I'll be.
Oh, yeah. So, any discussion or questions? Thank you for the reminder that we talked about this in November. Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously and I get to sign it. All right, Tom.
Chair, I will be extremely.
Thanks, Marcia.
First agency updates. I wanted to let you know we had an excellent visit with Federal Transit Administration. I updated you all. I just want to thank Rhonda and the finance team specifically. Out of the 158 recipients of the Southeast region, we are the only transit system with no old money. Old money is defined as 2021 or older. So the Federal Transit Administration was extremely appreciative that we were spending those dollars as quickly as we were able to get them. Because of that, the second hour of our meeting, which was a 2-hour meeting with FTA, and we always wondered what the second hour was going to be about. It was about our financial condition. They had done a deep dive. They were very, very appreciative of Rhonda and the entire team. What the FTA would like to do, and we have said we would like to do this as well, is make us a super recipient. When the Lakeland, census, thank you, census. The census occurs every 10 years. In 2030, it was anticipated that the Lakeland and Winter Haven urbanized areas would finally become one. You've talked about that at the TPO and other levels. At that point, there is no Winter Haven pot of money and Lakeland pot of money, as you saw today in agenda items 3, E, and F. It would just be one pot of money. The Federal Transit Administration, we did not know this, can advance that decision at any time they want. So we will become a super recipient. So there will be no federal pot of money for Winter Haven, Lakeland, and the Four Corners. It will all come in as one. That will streamline things for us and for the Federal Transit Administration. So we look forward to that. The only other thing I'd like to say on my report is that we did hire a new executive office assistant. It is Christine Lee of the Polk State College. She was Dr. Holden's executive assistant, Dr. Falconelli's, and now Dr. Kerr's. He has given her notice and accepted, and we're extremely excited to have her join us at the next.
She's excellent.
At the next board meeting.
Excellent.
I do with her.
That is the end of my report. And then I wanted to just talk about the squeeze innovation coming October 1st. This is not an approval item, it's an informational item. So we had talked about, I suppose I should stand like everyone else. We have talked about the squeeze. The first year ridership for the squeeze was 16,600. The second year of the squeeze was 24,700. And the third year of the squeeze was 33,300. And that's just Lakeland. It's grown exponentially. What we presented to the board was the concept of adding the Dixieland area and looking at that. The current orange route is the Lakeland route as it exists. This operates from 4 p.m. till 2 a.m. on the weekends. The purple line is what, after meeting with Dixieland, they had looked at. That would require additional drivers and additional vehicles as it is a route. You can also see that one of the challenges of that is it doesn't really connect all of one Lakeland, because if you were going to go from this area to Cobb and Penn, Pink Piano, those types of areas, you would have to effectively transfer downtown. And so what we had talked about was moving to a mobility on demand. So October 1st, we go to the next slide. On October 1st, we will have Spare, which you approved, is an online system. It's going to revolutionize our paratransit services, but it also has a mobility on demand feature. So starting in September with the soft launch, but formally with the beginning of our fiscal year, October 1st, we are going to get rid of the squeeze routes and move to mobility on demand. So this is the ability for individuals to have an app where they will be able to book from a series of drop downs and they will get that ride time. So Commissioner Scott books a trip from Florida Southern. He wants to go to Cobb and Penn with his wife. He's going to select from those 2 drop downs. He's going to get a ride time. It's going to show him where his squeeze card is, and it's going to give him and his wife a ride time. And then it's a shared ride service. So rather than like Uber, but you'll be able to see when the vehicle's coming, you're not going to get a drop-off time at Cobb and Penn because we may pick up other people along the way, unlike Uber, which you're guaranteed a ride unless you pick your share. We've talked about the challenges that we've had. The mayor had a challenge where due to capacity issues, she was standing afterwards waiting for the squeeze.
That was
I've
user
experienced
error,
it with my friends. Carly's experienced it as well. Those are 3 people in a room of 40. We know that the squeeze has sometimes capacity issues along the route. Things are full, the drivers are taking those folks to destination. That solves this because if the squeeze is in the capacity, you are going to get that information. The other thing that this does is with the booking, if an individual is in a wheelchair, there is going to be a wheelchair click that they have, which is going to solve a long time problem we've had with the squeeze. So currently, if you're an individual in a wheelchair and we pass you, we need to go to that wheelchair accessible vehicle, which is always prepped, get someone in it and come back to get you. This time with the booking option, if you need a wheelchair or lift vehicle, you're gonna be able to click that and we will dispatch that immediately. So this is the next generation of the squeeze. It includes the entire Dixieland area, as well as the new Prospect Apartments. We'll also note what Nicole and her team have designed is not only the RP Funding Center, but a good section of the Dixieland neighborhood in addition to the commercial corridor that's there. So we're able to expand the area without having to have the additional resources of a second route and really creating a one Lakeland environment.
I just have a question. So if I'm downtown, so there's no more just hopping on, hopping off?
There's no more hopping on and hopping off. If the vehicles are not in use, unlike an Uber, Madam Chair, which is just going to sit and dwell, it will run the traditional kind of squeeze route meandering around.
And the driver will have the tablet that's there.
Okay.
So they can do those kind of.
But I'm gonna have to,
fly-fishing activities.
if I'm at the joinery and want to go to 1961, I know it's closed and I should walk, but if I want to, I don't just stand outside the joinery and hop on it to go to
No, but if the
1961. I have to
driver-
get on the app.
We'd have to get on the app. However, the driver will have this is great, it's an iPad kind of tablet-based system. So if the driver saw someone at the joinery and you said, I want to go there,
Yeah,
the driver will have the iPad in front of them. They can book that trip right there since they're there, right? And take them to where they need to go. So in a way, there is still on the fly services, because if we're dropping off Commissioner Lalonde at Cobb and Penn, I'm sorry, we're dropping someone off, and he sees the vehicle there and he wants to go downtown, the driver can go ahead and book that trip right there, which effectively takes that demand.
how do we feel about behavior shift from standing by a sandwich board to using an app?
So I think it's gonna be, I mean, ultimately this goes to Aaron and there's an education component. But I think, Madam Mayor, that ultimately. I don't like saying it out loud, but this is a Uber Lyft style model. Something that people are extremely familiar with when it comes to that, and they're going to get that ride time. So I think there's an educational component
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be there, which is why we want to soft launch it. But I think ultimately it makes, especially for the younger generation, they are used to using their phones to book their trips with Uber and Lyft. And we are simply getting on board with that. The idea.
And I'm used to Uber and Lyft too, but I'm just saying,
That's what I guess.
I was-
Jump on it.
Convenience or just the novelty of, and in fact, that was the novelty
Yeah,
of
hopping on.
squeeze.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's like in bigger cities when you can, in San Francisco, you jump on probably as a little.
Right.
Took a ride.
Yes.
Now, I think I was confused when we all started talking about this, that it was still gonna be both.
The squeeze carts will still, when they're not at capacity, they will still be running. You go back to the previous slide.
Okay,
They'll still be meandering along this route. This route will not exist.
right,
So these points would only be accessible
MOD, yeah.
in mobility on demand. But again, I want to be clear, make sure that we're on federal law, that the drivers will have the ability to be able to book that trip on the fly.
I just want to prepare myself, I'm preaching to myself right now and our board that there's gonna be, there's gonna be some tension and some consternation and rub.
I just think it has to be easy to be able to book it on demand without, for those riders that don't want to use an app. You know, so if my mom's standing at the joinery.
Right.
She's not gonna get on the phone and move the app and book. it.
Right.
She doesn't-
Yes.
Right.
So how do it serve, because it talks about perception of citrus connection, squeeze being the segue to get to the public. Transportation is for all this. I don't want this squeeze to lose that perception, right? That we want it to be perceived by all as really accessible and easy. So as long as it's easy to book, if you're standing up the joinery and you don't have a phone or you don't have the app, then okay, if we migrate it to where you can book a Uber or Lyft once you have an app, then we're losing outside of what God is for right now.
Yeah, like you have someone at Spring Hill Suites, get 1961 Harris. So they would have to, the driver could just punch that in.
The driver could punch that in. I can also see Spring Hill Suites might be an extreme example, but I could also see things like Dan at Swan Brewing having an iPad right there where people can just walk
Well,
up.
yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. The
Yeah.
Question here
book their
was,
Trip.
if the
Yeah.
restaurants, can we
Yes.
have,
I think Cobb, yes, sir. I think
Something.
Cobb and Penn, I mean, the early adopters, joinery. By the trash can that's right there at the main entrance, the big double doors, could you have an iPad?
Yeah.
That people can book right from there? Absolutely. The drivers will also have the ability to do that on the fly, and then they'll be meandering as well.
well, I see this as a good adder, like it does, it takes us to another
Yes,
chapter.
absolutely.
Good. Just want to see us lose the traction we
agree.
have today.
And I would concur, that's sort of, the ambiance to it, being able to jump on and be able to ride around Lakeland.
Mhm. And just for you all, and I think you know this too, when we started the squeeze, we try to do it every day and we had to, we had to scale it back. So I mean, the great thing about this organization is, and that is the positive, we want it to be an and, not an or. And we also have a great team who's nimble and can make decisions and be like, hey, the data's not showing that this is working that well, or we need more saturation time or whatever. So, I mean, I think that's one of the superpowers of Citrus Connection is we know what we don't know. And so we're smart enough to flex and scale and do those things.
Well, there's gonna be a soft launch.
Yes, we're gonna do, thanks to Marcia
Yeah,
and the team Spare rolls out in September, so we're going to do a soft launch.
and so that
we
we
have
have the data that we need to. know
Yes,
about.
and we have a good group of identified super users that are
Good.
using the system.
Oh, good.
Both existing and ready in the Dixieland area. So we're gonna see the typical on route service in September, but you're also gonna see people doing mobility on demand.
I think like Florida Southern, probably those kids will do on demand.
You'll
They'll
see that-
totally do that. I
Yeah.
think that'll go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think what and there's ultimately a geo fence.
Yeah,
And I was being educated on this the other day, that there's a geo fence around each of the stops.
Yeah.
So if you are, for example, at the Usonian House,
right.
Julie Townsend, the LDDA Executive Director, lives very close to the Usonian House. So she would actually be able to book from her living room at the Usonian House,
Walk
see
there.
where that is,
Yeah.
and then walk up.
When it's
So I think
time.
one of the things that you'll see is an increase in group bookings, especially in Lake Morton and Dixieland, because people realize that they can have a kind of a group Uber experience night out. And so let's meet at someone's house, or let's all meet at Cobb and Penn, and then we'll ride from there to somewhere else. So I anticipate an increase in group bookings. That's the end of my report.
Anything, I mean, y'all can keep talking. Anything else? Martha and I have to go. Yeah, go too. All right, we'll adjourn. Thank you. Thanks so much. Sorry about the moving quickly.
So your mother.
I heard. She loves seeing y'all. She was like,